Welcome to Sex and the Solo Girl. Join your host, her inner circle, and expert guests weekly for chats about dating, secure attachment, the solo lifestyle, doing relationships differently, and of course, sex. And here's your host, Janice Formichella.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. And I will say welcome back, everyone, because this is yet another episode that I'm going to be dropping on both podcasts. And so hello to everybody listening over at Sex and the Solo Girl. Hello, everybody. And breakups, broken hearts, and moving on. I think that this is pretty pertinent and interesting to both audiences. And we've got a lot to share with you today. Before we get started, I want to remind or let everyone know that I've got a really fresh and beautiful, beautiful website that I would like you to check out. It's a one-stop shop for everything that I am doing as a coach and creator. It's janiceformichella.com. And if you would like to support my work even more, you can learn about my Patreon there. It's also Janice Formichella, and you can start supporting my work at just $1 a month. Let's get on with it. Christine Lalonde is here to talk with us today about cheating and her experience with it. And we're going to share lots of other interesting information about infidelity. Christine, welcome.
Hey, Janice. Thank you for having me back. I'm happy to be here.
Me too. We haven't done an episode in a little while.
A little bit, yeah.
I think the last episode we did was September or so, and everybody go either to the show notes or just scroll down a little bit because it was one of my most popular episodes last year, and it is called What the Hell Was I Thinking? And there's four of us on the panel who all spoke about the relationships in which you look back and just find it hard to believe that you were even in. It was funny. People had a lot of opinions about it as well. And Christine is the host of the popular podcast, 50 Shades of Bullshit. Can you tell us in a nutshell about that?
Yeah, 50 Shades is into 3.5 years now. We are on K4HD radio and anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. But it's about modern dating, finding love, and finding yourself.
Great. And it's really fun. I'm on there regularly. Everybody, I'll put that in the show notes as well. We do it live and you can download it on all of the podcast platforms. Let's get into cheating and being cheated on. Christine is going to tell her story in depth later in the episode of her experience being cheated on. But so really quickly though, Christine, what are you going to share with us? What, again, in a nutshell, was your experience with this unfortunate relationship dynamic?
Well, I know I've been cheated on here and there with boyfriends or whatever, growing up and being in my 20s or whatever. Everybody's gone through it. If you haven't, maybe you just don't know about it, or you're in a place where you have somebody that you would never do that to you. But for me, I'm going to talk about my last marriage and how he, we having kids and, a life together, said that that's something that he would never, ever do. And then into the relationship, I find out that he, not only with me, but multiple times before he even started dating me, he was cheating on others. So it was a pattern, and he acted like, he was superior and it wasn't who he was, but it is exactly who he was.
Yeah, I read that something like 69% of cheaters will, within the relationship at least, do it again. And look, some people, learn from it and some don't. Before we get more into your story, I get really excited about research and statistics, and I've got some fun ones for you. Okay? Let's talk about cheating in the States. Christine, what do you think the top couple of states for cheating would be?
That's a good question. I never thought that there would be a differentiation between states having different type of statistics for cheating. My first thought would be, and this is going to be a little political, red states where, men are men and, whatever. Or then I thought maybe it would be a high population state. So I would say what comes to mind is either Texas or California.
All right. So, and also this is from a 2024 study by Techopedia. Analyzed data on infidelity to create a one-stop guide to the secretive world of cheaters. And it found that Texas, Alabama, and Nebraska to be the top states for infidelity. Yeah, go girl.
Red states.
And actually, Madison found that Columbus, Ohio, and the Florida cities of Miami and Orlando.
Oh, I can see that.
Okay. And listen to this. Of course, sometimes it's a matter of opportunity. 31% of affairs happen with coworkers.
I can see that.
Totally. And get this. I like this one. Industry and job roles play a big part. Whereas 9% of non-management and low management employees report infidelity, and it doubles for 24% among middle management and 37% for upper management.
Power.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Men and women cheat in different ways, and cheating rates are influenced by age. Men tend to cheat more as they grow older. This is funny. With the trend peaking before they reach 80. Naturally, I suppose. In contrast, women's peak years for infidelity are generally between 50 and 69.
Interesting.
And men are more likely to engage in one-night stands, whereas women often seek emotional connection.
I can see that.
Okay. And one thing that's interesting, if you're ever thinking that you might be susceptible to cheating, or if you're thinking about it right now and you actually want the relationship with the person you're cheating with, keep in mind that only 1 out of 10 affairs evolved into committed relationships. Okay.
Well, because, think about this. If you're cheating on your significant other with somebody else, what makes that somebody else think that you would never do that to them? That's crazy.
Well, and also, I had a close friend who was I don't like this term, especially in her case, but the quote unquote other woman. And she did end up becoming getting into a relationship with the man, and the man did get divorced. But one of the problems within the relationship, and she bounced, she's not with him anymore. But one of the issues inside of the relationship was her partner, the man who had been cheating, became so possessive and controlling and mean to her that she had to end up leaving. And, that could happen as well. He knows what the possibilities of things are. And so he wanted to maybe control her to make sure that she didn't do it or something. And he was really demeaning to her as well. It got really bad.
Well, he was probably like that with his wife. I mean, spots don't change. They don't come
just
around.
Like a lack of disrespect for both women in general.
Right. And he probably treated his wife the same way, but she was his wife. And, you never know why women don't leave. There's lots of reasons. And your friend dodged a bullet.
I was really, really, really proud of her, how quickly she got out. Christine, now we are to the part in the episode where if it can happen to Christine, it can happen to anyone. And she has bounced back and overcome it in many, many ways. So tell us about your story.
So I was married previously. I had 2 children, and that wasn't a bad relationship. It was a really actually good relationship. It just, we grew apart, and, he had different things that he needed to accomplish in life, and I did too, and we just parted. And we had 2 children, and we raised them, together, separately, for their entire, childhood. And that was great. My daughters were 6 and 3 when I met my last husband. And he and I, when we were together, first started dating, he moved in with me about a year in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And we were both actors, and we were in the same acting class, and we did a lot of things together. And one day I'm sitting in front of our shared computer. He's using my computer because the boy didn't have shit. Okay. That's our first sign, girlfriends.
So what is the sign?
When a man doesn't really have that much and the woman has more, and he kind of, gets her to be the one. It was my house that he moved into. It was my, furniture and life that became his, but then he went around and redecorated my house with my own furniture, telling me I wasn't very good at what I did and he was better at it. So there's a lot of, signs that, led up. Obviously, I was damaged. I came from a background of a lot of trauma. So I was picking the wrong people. So let's just preface it there. Just this quick first part of the story. I went and sat down in front of my computer and I said, I was just about to pull up a monologue that I had to practice for the acting class that we were about to do in a couple of days. And an email notification came up and I clicked on it and it said, his email wasn't able to be delivered. And I was like, what? So I thought it was mine. So I click on it and I was like, what the heck is going on? I didn't recognize it. I didn't understand what it was. And it turns out it was his email. And he wrote an email to a girl that he met at a building the day before. And he opened the door for her as she walked in and she smiled at him. And
the day before.
This is the day before I opened the computer and see this email that was undeliverable. So he meets this girl who smiles at him, and then he gets in his car, and then she gets in her car, and they're next to each other, and she yells over her email address. Okay. This is back in the day, before cell phones. You got to remember, this is before cell phones. This is pager time. This is when my daughters, who are 31 and 38, were 6 and 3. So this is in the early 2000s, late 1900s. 99. Okay. I met him in 98. In 98. So this email is talking about how beautiful she was, how he's never seen another woman here in LA who has that great of a smile. All shit he said to me, by the way, how gorgeous her eyes were, how excited he was to have met her, and how he can't wait to get to know her more. But the email bounced back. It was the wrong email address.
Well, she yelled it at him. What are the odds? Okay. I'm not surprised at that. Okay.
Idiot. So I find this and I'm like, oh, okay. So he comes home and I said, hey, I found a monologue. Do you want me to read it to you? And you tell me if you think it works for me. And he says, sure.
Oh my God.
So I read the email.
Oh my God. That is bold. And also, okay, so go on.
And I was like, so what do you think of this monologue? And he's like, where did you get that? I said, your freaking email popped up and said that it was undeliverable. I thought it was mine. Yeah. And here it is. And he's like,
and
I'm
you bring
sorry.
up a good point, because you have stressed a couple of times that, and this does happen, you stressed a couple of times that his email was up on your computer and you did happen to see it, which does happen to a lot of people. The person will leave the chat up on Facebook and you just see it. But I'm just wondering if the reason that you're stressing this so much is because of the issue of people who go snooping around, hack into people's emails. Yep. I don't care what you suspect about your partner. The moment you do that, the relationship is over. I have had multiple partners, including my husband, go into my accounts and look around. And by the way, and this is neither here nor there necessarily, but I've even had an employer do it. So this is probably, and look through all of my messages, go and try to find things against me, which my husband did too. And he was grasping at fucking straws because he found the littlest email that I had written that was not incriminating. Anyways, so 4 times probably. I swear to everybody out there listening, I have not done this one single time ever.
Snooped? No, there's no point in it. If you don't trust the person and you're snooping, you shouldn't be there. Period.
So please go on. And thank you for everything you've shared so far. Also, you are a badass.
Thank you. Well, he smoothed it over. He wrote me this big, long letter swearing that he'd never done it before. He would never do it again. He's so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was his meal ticket. I was his home. He lived in my house. He had the best of both worlds there. He didn't want to lose me. So I forgave him, idiot that I am, forgave him. And we got married.
Oh my God, this was before the marriage?
We got married 2 years later. So we were together 4 years before we got married. We were married for 6 years. So yes, it was 10 years. And we had our third daughter together.
Your third daughter, his first?
His first.
Okay.
And so we had a child, and, I thought we were fairly happy. We had a marriage and kids and a life, and it wasn't perfect. He was a gaslighter and a narcissist, and he put me through a lot, but he didn't beat me like a previous husband did. He didn't, do certain things that I deemed as bad in my, trauma-filled brain. He was there for me. He was, fairly good to me. So I left it alone. Fast forward, our 5th year of marriage. I am a producer. A lot of people know this. Some people don't. I produce and direct, commercials, docuseries, documentaries, things like that. And he was directing a short film that he wrote, and I was producing it. And our daughter was 2 years old at the time. And he had a coworker that he used to talk shit about all the time. And he used to say, she and her husband would come to our parties because a lot of people from his work would come to our personal parties, and we socialized with them, with a lot of other people from his work. Okay, so it wasn't, anything out of the ordinary. I couldn't stand her. I thought she was two-faced and kind of, those girls that are like, oh my God, it's so perfect. But then inside they're just evil bitches. I hated her. I didn't really like her, but I didn't hate her at the time. And he talked shit about her all the time. How annoying she was, how weird she was, how bad, how unattractive she was. And by the way, folks, if you don't know this, when somebody's doing that, they're covering up shit. They really are trying to distract you.
Okay, interesting.
It's like pops and buzzes over here, and no, pay attention to what I'm doing over here. Okay. So all of a sudden, we're going back to this film that we were doing together. He was going to be shooting this scene, and for some effed up reason, she was in this film. She got the part that, actually should have been mine, because I was an actress. We were acting together. We were producing things together. And all of a sudden, it wasn't my part. It was hers. And they were doing a closed set.
Okay.
And the producer's not allowed to be on closed set. Are you kidding me right now? So he made it seem as if he had to film when I had to be with the kids. So I couldn't be there. And I was like, what do you mean there's such a thing as a babysitter, you fool?
Also, this is already so fishy. I'm so sorry.
So I didn't think anything about it because I trusted him. His friend during that time, a lifetime friend of his who I loved so much, had called recently and was crying because he screwed up and cheated on his girlfriend, and wanted our advice what to do and how to move forward and how to fix it. He didn't want to lose her. And my husband made a big point of saying, I would never do that to you. I would never, ever cheat on you. And all the while he's now cheating with his coworker who did this film with him. And we started going to therapy, and therapy was horrific.
This could be an episode in itself, because my husband and I also tried therapy. There was no infidelity that I know of, but the marriage was falling apart. And I have to say, I also had a bad experience, and I've heard from other women, especially, that they had bad experiences. So anybody listening out there who can relate to, sincerely and authentically wanting to get help and go to therapy and end up having a poor experience, perhaps get in touch with me. The easiest way is on Instagram, and maybe we can come on and have a little panel because that's supposed to be a safe space for you to come together. I'm sure that it is for a lot of people, but I have heard maybe even mostly bad stories. So sorry to interrupt, Christine. Please continue.
So when we went to therapy, it was his therapist. It was this woman who was his therapist. And he said to me, let's go to my therapist and we'll get counseling. And I was like, okay. So this is before I knew he was cheating. I did not know he was cheating at this time. He was with this woman and from work, and
so
I did not know
therapy because the
relationship was deteriorating big time. And we went to therapy, and I was attacked the entire time. He said horrific things about my character, my person, which anybody who knows me, I'm a loving, kind, giving person. I can be a badass, and I can fuck you up if you if someone's trying to hurt somebody I love, I will mess a person up.
Christine's one of the most protective friends maybe I've ever had, and also has a high level of self-respect as well, and so she doesn't let people fuck with her people or herself. This is true, but also one of the most kind and generous people.
So we were in therapy, and he's saying all this shitty shit about me, and he's not letting me say anything. And she finally lets me say something, and I was like, well, you want to know what's happening on my end? And I start. They both turn on me. It was terrible. It was very damaging emotionally and mentally for me. It was overwhelming. I felt bullied. I had no one to turn to because all of my friends were all tied up in our core friendship group. Like his friends' girlfriends or wives were my friends. My friends got paired up with his friends and then got married. And so we're all this intertwined group, and I had nobody to turn to. Nobody wanted to hear my private stuff. And we were at a party one time. A friend of ours had a kid, and we were celebrating this baby, and she was there, and she cornered me on the balcony and said something to me about, how are you guys doing? And I said, oh, well, we're struggling a little, and we're in therapy, and we're trying. And she goes, oh, really? And she was like digging for info. And I thought she was just trying to relate to me. And she then said, yeah, I'm having issues with my husband. And I said, well, you never know. You guys might benefit from therapy, but find a good one, and blah, blah, blah. Hours later on the way home, I get reamed by my husband for why in the world would I talk to this person about my private life? And I said, first of all, fool, she is part of the whole friend group. And she asked me. I didn't volunteer. She asked me. And he went off on me. And I, in the back of my head, was thinking, what the hell? Why is he so upset? And first of all, why did she run to tell him?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, that's the inappropriate part.
Bitch was digging. She was digging for info. Okay. So I kind of had a feeling. Fast forward another month. I win on the radio. Okay. I win an all expense round trip paid trip to Australia for 2. And my husband and I traveled very well together. It was the best times of our lives when we traveled. We traveled very well together. We had a blast. And we did all kinds of really amazing things through our travels. And I was excited, thinking this is really going to be good for us. This will be a real good trip. And he said, no, I have to stay home and work. You go take a friend. And I, in the back of my head, thought, why in the world he has always wanted to go to Australia with me. He's always wanted to do this trip. It's a free trip. Why wouldn't he take it? And I kept thinking, this is so odd, but I never thought, honest to God, I never thought that he would cheat. And so then I get back, and then all of a sudden he's looking through my phone, checking all my shit, checking, acting like I'm cheating on him. Who is this person? Why are you texting this to this person? I'm like, first of all, I was a very busy event planner, and I had vendors all in my phone, personal numbers of all my vendors. And sometimes they're named Jack, John, and Mark, and John. You know what I mean? So it was not good. And I kept thinking, wait a minute, if he's going crazy about me cheating and I'm not, it's probably because he's projecting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's looking for a way out, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I then randomly, we were talking about something, and he makes a comment about how when he was in high school, he dated a girl named Amy, and then he cheated on her with another girl named Amy, and then he broke up with the first Amy, dated the second Amy, then cheated on the second Amy with the first Amy, and then broke up with the second Amy and went out with the first Amy again, and this whole thing. And then lo and behold, the woman who is the friend at work, Amy, and he's got an obsession with that name, and it was bad. And I thought, holy shit, he's lied to me for 10 years, telling me he's never cheated, and here he is talking about cheating, and he's acting like it's nothing because he wasn't married to them. But then he's married to me and cheating. So it's a cycle. So long story short, I hire one of his friends to help me with a lighting job with my event planning, because he's a lighting guy. And he also works at his work with him. So he knows all the characters here. And he says to me, how are you guys doing? He's really saying, like, genuinely, knowing that we're having problems. Obviously, he's my husband's best friend. And he says, how's it going? And I said, I'm sure you know a lot. I mean, I'm sure he talks to you, but, we're trying. I'm doing my best to try to make this work. I said, it's half my fault. I have to put as much effort as I can to make this work. Whatever, I have to play a role in this somehow, right? And he said, oh, that's it. I can't take it anymore. I'm not going to let you take responsibility for something that's not your fault. And he said, maybe let's just say work right now isn't the best place for him.
Okay.
And I was like, holy shit. And I said, is it who I think it is? So I knew immediately who it was. And so I went home. Now,
oh my God, what did you do this time?
I'm standing in the kitchen. I'll never forget this day. It is clear as like a movie in front of my face. I was standing in the kitchen, and he walks in, and I said, hey, I need to talk to you about something. I've been having this weird feeling for a while that something's going on. And I do think that maybe you might be involved in something that you shouldn't be. And so I hired a private investigator.
Oh my God.
And I did not, by the way.
Right, no.
So I said, I hired a private investigator, and he has taken photos of you after work, meeting up with Amy. And I have pictures.
Oh my God.
He flipped out. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. So here I took a risk. I knew in my soul what was going on. So I took a risk, and I say this, and because I promised the friend that I would not rat him out. I promised. And I have never uttered his name regarding this ever, nor will I ever. I respect what he did for me, and I left it at that. Now, my husband kept saying, was it this person? Was it this person? Was it this person? And I kept saying, no. Why? Why would your best friend do that? No. I said, no, he's probably got your back. I said, I hired a private fucking investigator, and I have proof. And he's like, show me, show me. I said, you don't deserve anything. And I'll just give it to my attorney, and we'll be done. And
wow.
I did not give it to the attorney but he fessed up. And once he fessed up and said, I'm sorry, blah, 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 he moved out into our guest apartment house behind our house. He lived out there for about 4 months and didn't pay any bills.
Oh, my God.
He did not pay his half of anything. I had to step up with 3 kids by myself and take care of everything. He always told me that my multiple jobs that I did to survive was all bullshit because maybe I should just get one good job. And he had one job that didn't make half of what I did with 3 or 4 jobs. So it was always a condescending way that he spoke to me. It was always a lot of things. But in the end, when it comes down to it, he cheated. And then after he admitted it, he backtracked and since then has completely denied it. It's been 15 years since we've been divorced, since it happened. And he has completely denied it to this day now. He says, we never had an affair. We were just friends. And
he doesn't want your daughter to know.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly. Well, my daughter knows. When she got older and a lot of shit happened and she was treating me really crappy because her dad's influence, I just said, hey, everybody acts like the divorce was my fault and it was not. And I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want to blow up my life. I wanted to keep our family together. I was willing to put up with a lot of abuse to keep my family together. And it didn't work. And so that's fine. And now I'm always the bad guy because, I left the family. I broke up the family and nobody wants to talk about the fact that he cheated. So I think that some people maybe can come back. I could not come back from this.
Right. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a baby with her?
Now, after the 4 months when he was living in the back house, he moved out. He was on his own for maybe a month, 2 months, and then he moved in with her. And she got a divorce from her husband. He got a divorce from me. They did wind up getting married a couple of years later. They do have a son. He is adorable. He is so cute. I don't blame him at all. There's been a lot of tension and trauma and stress for 15 mother effing years. About a year ago, year and a half ago, he went on a business trip. And his wife and I had to meet up quite a bit to exchange my daughter for things because he was gone for 3 months working out of state. Mm-hmm. And, she is very nice. I do think that she does a lot for my daughter, and she has been a very good stepmother for her. And I do appreciate what she has done. And I actually decided at that time I would pull her aside, and I just said, hey, I just want you to know these things. I want you to know that I acknowledge you and that I appreciate what you've done for my daughter and that you've been there for her. I acknowledge that part of it. And I kind of made nice and made friends with her. And that was the best thing I could have done because my daughter overheard. I did not know she was close at all. And she overheard and said she was proud of me. I did not do it for anybody but my daughter, period. I wanted her to have that nice, So, this Amy and I, we are good. I think that the best thing that could have happened to me was them. And one of the things I said in parting to him was my greatest joy in life was that I was really happy that they were together because at this point I know that they could never trust each other, and I was really thrilled about that.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I don't know what she's thinking with this 3 months away. So you're saying in this case, they were one of the 1 in 10 who stays together, but everybody listening, that is not typical. And like Christine says, that's not a good foundation. So
and who knows what the future brings for them too, by the way.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Nobody knows what that future's going to bring.
I mean, as I read, men tend to cheat more as they age. So who knows? Christine, thank you for sharing your story. That is a lot. Yeah. And I'm glad that you're happy and that you love being single right now. This leads well into one of the topics that we wanted to discuss. And that is, can a relationship survive cheating?
What is your attachment style? Do you consider yourself anxious, avoidant, or does it change depending on the circumstances? Would you like to become securely attached and learn how to show up as the best version of yourself in all of your relationships? My program, Becoming Securely Attached, is a 3-month intensive designed to help you look at your current patterns and triggers, pinpoint what will most help you work on them, and then intentionally develop an action plan to create new ways of doing things. And guess what? I just started offering free first sessions to give you a look at how I work and determine if we are a good fit for each other. You can book one using the link in the show notes or by heading to janiceformichella.com. And remember, I'm always available on Instagram if you want to chat. I look forward to hearing from you.
Statistically, it's pretty rare. I tried so hard to find reliable statistics on this. Yeah. And you would be amazed that it said like everything from like 40 to 80% of divorces are because of infidelity. And so, and there's lots of other reasons people get divorced. So unfortunately, everyone listening, I don't know that for sure. But I mean, let's just talk about our own experiences. I don't have experience being cheated on that I know of.
Right.
But I have to say, you might be surprised within my breakup coaching practice, a bunch of my clients have either done it and willingly told me or had it done to them. So I do know it is common. I had an episode called Being Broken Up With a few weeks ago with Chris Gillis. Everyone go and look at that one as well. He shares his story of having kind of one woman after another leave him for various reasons. And again, this is someone who has everything in the world going for him, including like good looks, good careers, all of it. And yeah, he was cheated on multiple times. So go and listen to that episode. Christine, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that there are a lot of psychological things about people who cheat. It's personally, I think it's an ego thing. I think that people think that their needs are more important than somebody else's feelings, thoughts, or care given to the other person. I do know that on my side of it, on the victim side of it, I hate using the word victim, but I'm just for this purpose. For me, it is a lot of myself being in a bad place to pick people who aren't good for me. When I was in a place of damage and trauma and pain, I accepted people into my life who could possibly do that to me. So for me, when I did my healing journey and I started, being in a better place personally, I'm not picking people who are doing that to me, who would even do that to me, because they're not the same kind of person. So I think that we have to also take responsibility, not for maybe the person being the cheater because they're dicks and that's just that, but, and there's no need or call for it. It's very easy to just break off with somebody than it is to hurt them. But for people who do the hurting, they would rather say sorry than ask permission. Does that make sense?
Also, I can imagine if you were cheating, it would cause so much stress in your life trying to hide it.
No, they want the thrill.
Torn over who you want to be with, maybe some guilt.
No.
And so, yeah, I do think
they're not capable of that, by the way. Guilt only comes after being caught.
Yeah.
Guilt does not come before. And if it did, they wouldn't be doing it. So there's something wrong in their brains. There's something
why do you
that
think
it's
so
ego.
many people do admit to it and feel like they have to, which I'm not sure I really agree with that. If you have cheated.
Ego.
I mean,
it's an ego.
Yeah. I mean, either break up, or if you expect to stay with the person, maybe don't torture them by telling them. This is a complex issue that people have opinions about.
It's cake and eat it too.
It's what?
It's that whole phrase, having your cake and eating it too. It's like they want everything. They think they deserve everything. They think that, oh, well, you know what? This is my need. They're not giving me what I want. They blame it on the other person.
If you can actually pause for a moment, I do have a list from the Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy. This is only from 2020, so this is recent. Motivations for cheating. Include anger, low self-esteem, lack of love. I mean, I can kind of understand that. Low commitment to one's partner, need for variety, like, oh, poor you. Neglect. I mean, let's be real. If you're feeling that inside your marriage, sexual desire and the situation, doubts about the relationship, and lack of sexual intimacy, which in a way, this would make a little sense why men cheat as they grow older, because a lot of marriages, heterosexual relationships, start to have sexual dysfunction later in the marriage, or when a woman reaches perhaps a certain age or gets very overwhelmed, perhaps with children. And so I could see that men would be more likely to cheat during this time. But again, if you are having these problems, if you're having any level of sexual dysfunction within your marriage and you desire to stay together, there's so many resources. There's so many things that you can do. If you have a desire on both sides for this can be fixed. And if you don't think it can, there's lots of midlife divorces. Both people often go on to have, wonderful free lives. But yeah, I did want to mention that those are the reasons cited.
I personally think that a lot of it is emotional neglect, ego validation, unresolved trauma, like I said. Some people even have a fear of intimacy.
And getting divorced, I know that you said it's easier to break up, but getting an actual divorce is messy and painful and complicated and shitty. I know for a fact. And so, sometimes perhaps some people might think it would be easier to get your needs fulfilled rather than go through all of that.
Right. Right. Some people love their spouses and don't want the trauma of divorce, or they don't want to leave their kids, or they don't want to pay, two households. There's just so much, and they would rather stay with their wife, keep the life that they have, that they don't want to blow up, and have a little something on the side that satisfies whatever need that they have. And you know what? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, if it was happening to me, I would hate it, and it would be sad, and it would disappoint me. But I can kind of see where some people come from. It's not a black and white situation. It's a gray area.
Yes. And it's complicated. Like whether it's understandable in some situations, whether it's deplorable in some situations. And this brings up another thing I wanted to discuss. And that is, and I know that you wanted to talk about this as well, and that is, what is cheating? And I've done research on this in the past for my Breakups podcast, and it is all over the place as far as what people consider cheating. So let's talk about just a few things before we wrap up. First of all, you wanted to talk about either digital cheating or online infidelity. And this did come up, and that could be online interactions that are very, very romantic, and some which are even sexual, or, creating a dating profile, this type of thing. So what do you think? Is this cheating? And
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, look, emotional cheating is a real thing. Physical cheating, obviously, but somebody who turns away from their partner and puts effort into somebody else outside of the marriage that is of, like if you're in a heterosexual marriage and you're the man and you're, turning away from your wife, or you're the wife turning away from your husband, that's a problem. You have this sanctity of marriage here, and it's about emotional, physical, psychological. It's a lot of things, and you're supposed to be there for your partner as a partner in life, and that's a lot of complicated stuff. I get it, but when you turn away from somebody and you confide in another man or another woman outside of your marriage, that's emotionally cheating.
But again, a gray area, Christine. And this is what a lot of people would be divided on: watching pornography or maybe signing up for OnlyFans. Is that cheating?
I don't love OnlyFans because it is a more personal thing. It's not like porn where you're not connected to messaging them or have an
Financially
opportunity to
supporting
connect,
the person,
or sending them money. I think that if you are connecting with somebody on a sexual site such as OnlyFans, it's highly sexual. Whether you're there for sex or not, you have some kind of fantasy or thing that you like, and you're going there and paying somebody to see private
and
stuff.
You're interacting with them. I have to say, I would not be happy if my partner was on OnlyFans. But watching pornography,
that's different.
Go for it. You have to get aroused. Right. Christine, thank you. And everybody, again, feel free to chime in. Come over to my Patreon where we will be discussing this. Send me a message. Let me know what you think of the content and what you consider cheating. I will save it for Christine. Maybe we'll come back and do like a listener comments episode or a Q&A together. Please chime in. Go over to my Instagram. Like I said, send me a message, Janice Formichella. Before we wrap up, Christine, I think it's really important to not just chat about this dynamic topic as we've figured out. I mean, you originally, I feel, came into this episode thinking how black and white it is, but we've uncovered that it's not necessarily, which is fine. That's how a lot of things in relationships are. If you have been cheated on, if there is infidelity, this can be life altering. It can be shattering. I read several blog posts and articles that said that in the aftermath of infidelity, being cheated on, that people can develop symptoms similar to PTSD. PTSD is a very serious form of trauma that I think the word gets thrown around a lot. And the article did specifically say symptoms similar to it. So, and I can see it completely destroying your confidence, really altering how you relate to people in the future. Yeah. Can we maybe give some tips to overcoming it or starting to overcome it or heal from it? Would you like to go first?
Sure. I think that you need to evaluate what works for you. For me, I'd been through so much trauma that I'd already been through a ton of therapy. Plus, the couples therapy really messed with my head. So therapy wasn't for me. But I knew I needed help, and I was angry. And we've talked about this before. I was angry after my divorce. I was so upset that my life had gotten blown up and that so much was happening because of it that I just decided I needed to learn how to cope with the anger. So I voluntarily found a anger management person.
Yeah,
and
you're so brave. And I'm
it really
link to the
worked.
show notes. I'll link in the show notes. We had an episode a couple years ago actually called Anger After Breakup. I'll link to it because Christine tells her story about going to anger management and overcoming this. And it was really powerful. And
Yeah, I needed that.
yeah, it was so vulnerable. She shared some very personal things that she was, very brave too.
Thank you. So for me, I think that whatever works for you. If you need therapy, go to therapy. If you need anger management, go to anger management. For me, what's really worked beyond the anger management, because I'm not always great at controlling my anger. I get so riled up.
Perfect.
Right? But I'm so passionate about things that it still kind of ignites in me. But, meditating has made a big difference in my life. Reevaluating who I am, growing as a person, learning to love myself, and being in a place of healing energy to where I'm choosing better people for me, not people who are taking advantage of my trauma and my vulnerability and treat me with love and respect, because I treat myself with love and respect. So I think that figuring out what you want that way helps.
Brilliant. So I'll go a little backwards. So I will say, because I have some tips as a breakup coach that I know help. And first of all, taking a break from dating, because you are not going to be ready to get into a relationship when you have been shattered to this degree and are probably having trust and confidence issues. This is something that must be processed.
Absolutely.
So I said, take a break. And then whilst you're taking the break, think about what you might want long-term out of relationships when you are ready to get back in them, so that you are processing and healing while thinking about your future. Another thing that I would highly suggest, and Christine, maybe you can speak to this, I know when I go through breakups, I do this, and also my clients who have been cheated on do this, and that is thinking about it constantly and having it go through your mind over and over and over again. Racing thoughts is one of the signs or symptoms of breakup brain, which I talk a lot about. And that is that your mind is altered, your body's altered, your ability to make decisions. And partially it is because of these just racing thoughts, which I totally get. You've had something
horrible happen
never
to you.
expected happen to you.
Yeah.
And so Christine mentioned meditation. Thank you. Learning about mindfulness, maybe, taking a course. And then there's also hypnotherapy, which can help you stop with the racing thoughts, because that is natural in the beginning and normal, but it can really, really hold you back and keep you stuck in the healing journey.
I know something that's helped me tremendously this last 6 months or so is a gratitude journal.
Oh, Christine, yeah.
Yeah, I write 8 things every day that I'm grateful for, and I write it as if it's already happened. And then I write 3 things that I am, like I'm a badass, I'm successful, I'm happy, things like that. I write a daily intent, and I am grateful. I write thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and I sign it as if it's a contract, I think gratitude goes a long way.
Thank you. That's a great idea, because you're going to probably be having a lot of negative thoughts.
I'm so sorry, Janice. I just thought of something, and I really want to express this because I feel like it's a very important thing to think about. When you are going through life and things happen to you, every day I say to myself, everything always works out for me. Okay? And what that means is that sometimes, depending on what you think, universe, Buddha, God, whatever you believe in is in a higher power in your life. I say universe. The universe hurts me to help me sometimes. So when bad things happen to us, it's to remove that situation from your life And sometimes we're holding on so tight because we think that's what we needed and wanted. But sometimes we make bad decisions and things change in life and things have to be moved out for better things to come in. So when bad things happen, don't focus on the bad. Focus on what could come in the future by healing from it so that better things come.
I think one of the things you're really talking about is being intentional about your healing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's a grieving process. Anger is a very natural and very healthy part of most breakups. So I always tell people that's one of the stages of grief in a breakup, is allowing yourself to feel anger. If it was a bad breakup, yeah, you probably had some
flush it out.
Happen to you. If you were cheated on, that's awful. I mean, it's natural to feel angry. And then after you kind of let that go through your system, it is time to be intentional about getting over it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And along those lines, Christine said, find what works for you. You have to get support if you've been cheated on. So therapy,
do not go
anger
alone.
Management, and of course, coaching. Like
Coaching's
I said,
great.
I have worked with many people who have had a dynamic in the dissolution of their relationship. And I've got tools and ways that I know will help you on your healing journey, including letting you embrace all of the stages of grief. Christine, wow, what a journey you've been on with both of your marriages, all of your relationships, and you've gotten to, such a good place.
I'm happy.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm happy because I'm happy here within myself. I mean, the rest of life does its thing and has its moments, but I live in my bubble of I'm good, I'm healing, I'm happy. I'm even if I don't find a partner, I'm a great partner for myself. That goes a long way. And then if someone comes into my life that's the right person for me, then can you imagine how incredible it's going to be? So, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm thrilled where I am.
That's how I am. And the relationship, is better when you're good on your own. And this is also why it would behoove anybody listening or who has been cheated on to really, really do the work, because this is the exact type of thing that makes you unable to trust people in the future and be vulnerable and be confident, is not processing being cheated on and being really intentional about it. Thank you so much for being here. And again, I think this whole concept of doing an episode on bad groups or bad couples therapy would be fun and maybe healing for some people. I mean, I know for me, when I went in and the way that my husband was acting really stuck with me. And I would love to, share it with the world. So please be in touch, perhaps with either of us, if you would like to come on, and let's get 3 or 4 people on so we can really drive home that this can happen. And it sucks because you think that this is gonna help things, and you go in with such faith, and for the episode. Ours
was a woman, and I was really excited at first because I thought, I'm going to have some support here as a woman because I'm being railroaded and gaslighted here. And nope, she jumped on his bandwagon and off they went. So it can happen. I love it. That we should talk about
and I'm
this.
going to look up, I'm going to do research on this. Everybody, again, go to JaniceFormichella.com. Please check out my Patreon. Thank you for being here, most of all. And thank you, Christine, for being here. This has been a lot of fun.
Pleasure.
We recorded early this morning, and go us for getting up and doing this, because this is an important episode. All right, to everybody listening, I'm sending you so much strength for the week ahead. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Sex and the Solo Girl with Janice Formichella, the podcast for those who want to add more flavor to their relationships with themselves and others. If you liked today's episode, make sure to head over to Instagram and let her know. See you next week.